LadyLucidity ASMR. Hello there, my lovelies. For today's video, I will be attempting to create a geode painting. Now, this is something that I've seen on YouTube and Pinterest, and I've been wanting to try this out for myself for a little while now. So the paints I'm using today are by Crawford & Black. This is a brand I've not used yet, so this will be interesting to see how it turns out. I also have some metallic paint, some PVA glue to give it extra shine when it dries, and a selection of glitters, because it wouldn't be a sparkly geode without some glitter. Now, just to clarify, I'm using a acrylic pouring technique which doesn't use resin. Now, as much as I would love to use resin in all my art and craft, resin is very expensive for the little amount that you get, so it might be a project that I do later on if you guys are interested, but for now I'm just doing this technique purely with acrylic for those who don't have access to resin. So to start with, I'm just drawing out a rough circle slash shape outline, and I'm going to use this as my focal point where I want to start, and I will build outwards from there. So if you guys at home would like to try this technique, feel free to carry on watching and just check out the steps as we go. Okay, so first I'm using my white acrylic, which is pretty thick, and I've also mixed in some Pebeo Studio Art mixed media paste to give it extra texture, because after all we're creating something that's made from natural elements, so I wanted to give it that look. Okay, so this will be our first layer, and I'm just using the back of a spoon to get a rough outline. And a little tip, the reason I drew my shape slightly off to one side of my painting is to give it a more interesting visual effect. When you do your painting, you can obviously put your circle in the middle, but I just like it to be a little bit off to one side, make it a little bit quirky. So here I'm just adding a little bit of water to loosen up the paint because it's a little bit too thick. So I want it a good pouring consistency, but not too loose so that it just bleeds into everything. You want it to hold its shape. Okay, so I think that's about ready. And I'm going to leave about a ½ inch gap around it and just gently pour. You don't need to be neat at any stage of this painting. Okay, so I'm going to grab my palette knife and I'm going to gently tease the two paint colours together. Okay, just going back and forth, drawing little veins or little lines in the paint, and very gently mix them together. So this creates that mixed effect that you see on many geodes. It gives you the idea of the crystal-like appearance. So I'm going to add some more white. And a little tip is to add when you need to. So basically, don't overdo your paint. You can't take away paint, but you can always add paint. So go slowly if this is your first time trying something like this, and add your layers gradually. Okay? Just pulling the paint inwards. I'm trying to be very careful that I don't break the outer blue line too much, because I want to keep that defining line. Okay. I might need to add a little bit more blue at some stage, but we'll see. We'll just gently tease around. Okay, so you can already see the effect that we're trying to build up. At the end of the video, I will be posting pictures so you guys can see a little bit better the detail in the techniques. Okay. So just add a bit more white at the top. Okay. Perfect. Okay, and then just pull that inwards. So you're kind of just pushing the paint around more than actually blending it. But it creates this really nice sort of stone-like effect. It's really nice but really simple. Okay, so I'm going to add a bit more of this darker blue to my outer layer to give it a bit more definition. I really want a good strong line. So I'm just making it a bit thicker, and this will also help with our next layer of colour. So next I'm going to add a contrast. So I'm going to go with a lighter blue, I think, for the next one. So it's sort of a sky blue. Okay. That looks good. So I'm going to add a little bit of glitter first to my piece, just to add some sparkle before I do my next layer. So in some of the cups I actually added some glitter particles as well, so you'll have glitter on top and you'll have it running through the paint itself as well. Okay, so onto our light blue, give it a mix and start pouring. Okay. Make sure I always put the right spoons back in the right cups. Okay, and away we go. So this time I'm trying to be a bit closer to the dark blue. And just filling it in, any gaps. Okay, that should do nicely. And then I'm going to tip my canvas and it will slowly merge into each other. Not too much, just enough. And because the paint is quite thick, it won't run all the way into one big coloured mess. So again, just go very slowly with this. Okay. Now I have lost a little bit of definition, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend my dark and light blue as I did with the first layer, And then I think I'm going to add a bit more white to the inside so I can start to draw in those lines again. So if this does happen, don't worry too much. You can always go back over it. The important thing is to just get those layers in. Okay, so I'm being very delicate, very light with this one, and just getting rid of any excess. Okay, so this is just a plain squeezy bottle with some acrylic in it, and this is to create those lines that you sometimes see running through geodes. Again, it's just to add a bit of character and some detail to the piece. So just move it around a little bit. Okay. So hopefully you can see the effect that we're already getting from the few layers that we do have. So I'm just going to add that white in, as I said, just to bring back in the definition between the colours. Okay. So this is quite a slow process. If you've got an afternoon free, I suggest having a go because it is very therapeutic and fun. And even if it doesn't turn out quite the way you thought it might, as this one did for me a little bit, it's still a lot of fun. But it does take quite a few hours to do, so it's not a quick job. Okay. Just clean off my palette knife before I do my next layers. So now is going to come in the gold, and this one is particularly thick because I've put in the Studio mixed media paste again, so it's very grainy and I had to add a lot of water to get it to pour, but I think it adds a nice bit of colour change to the layers, and also it ties in with our gold flakes that we'll be using in a bit. Okay, so I'm just trying to drag the paint around a little bit to fill in those gaps. Okay, and then again, just pick up your canvas and give it a move around. So yep, you can see it's starting to drip off the edge. Drip, 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 drip. I told you this would be messy. Okay. So again, just picking up my white, adding a bit of extra lines to this, just go around, there we go. So it might look like a bit of a mess to you guys, but I promise it does come together in the end. I was very skeptical when I first started. I thought that it was going to just be one big mess, but I actually ended up really liking it once I'd finished. And I think I'm going to do a purple one in future and maybe hang it in my studio. So, being very, very generous with the glitter here. And hopefully that will stick to your paint. And any excess can be brushed off or shaken off. But the glitter really does give it something special. now for the inside, I'm just adding a little bit of this gold. Okay. And again, not being too neat, just putting about, I'd say, 1/2 inch to 1 inch just around the inside. So again, another reason for putting the extra white there as well, to give it that barrier between the blue and the gold. Okay. There we go, just around there, and a little bit more. Okay. There we are. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. Wonderful. Okay, so again, I'm using my gold glitter just loosely on top. Just give it a shake. Okay. There we are. Trying to be careful not to get too much in the white. Okay. And now we're going to use our gold flakes. This is an extra stage, you don't have to add these, but I'm just lightly pressing them into the paint so it will dry together, and this is what makes it look really sort of crystally rock-like. I think it just again gives it another layer of texture. Plus it's really pretty. I love using gold and silver flakes. Okay, so this is going to give us our rough crystal-like inner like gemstone edging. So because it's very delicate stuff, I have to be very careful. And again, you have to be very patient and make sure that your painting is completely dry. If you start to move it when it's still damp, all your gold flakes will fall off, or your glitter will fall off, and it will just become one big mess. So do be patient with it. So I think it's time for another layer, and to break up the colour I'm going to use my white again. Okay, again giving it a good mix, making sure I've got that consistency I want. Okay, and pour around the gold. So again, I want to try and be quite close to the gold. Okay. And pop a little bit in the corner. So at the start of the video I mentioned that I was using PVA glue, and that is actually mixed in with my paint, because to create the illusion of a shiny gemstone-like surface, I have added a very good amount of PVA glue to my paint, so that when it dries it is still shiny looking, and that basically replaces the resin that I would have used if I was making this the same way that other YouTubers were. But I don't have resin, so the next best thing to get the similar sort of glossy effect is to use a PVA glue. You can also pour it over your completed canvas once it's dry if you feel it's not quite shiny enough, as an extra layer. Almost like a varnish, I guess, but a lot cheaper. So, pro tip there. You could also use a varnish if you wish, or Mod Podge is very good for this as well, especially the glitter version. If you want to brush it over the top, it looks beautiful. Okay, so another key to the look of this piece is the different thicknesses of your lines, which is very important. So you want to do some thick ones, some thin ones, some very thick ones, so just try and change up your layers. Okay, so again going back in with my dark blue because I haven't used it for a few layers, so there we go, just around the outside here. So you can see we're really starting to build them up and work our way outwards to the canvas edge. Okay. I'm starting to run out at this stage, so I'm using what I can. A little bit of white on there as well, just in between those two layers there. As you can see, I'm running out of all my paint at the moment. Not to worry too much. I'll just mix what I have together. So this nib on the end is actually very useful as a tool for blending those colours together. So, okay, just dragging them together. Exactly the same technique as the first layer we made. Dragging the blues together. Okay, so I'm having to angle myself around the table for this one because at the time of filming I was 9 months pregnant, so I'm trying to avoid my belly hitting the table too much. So I'm sorry if it looks a bit awkward. I also have really short arms and a big table, so trying to stretch over it was entertaining. Okay, so we're getting a nice blend of the two colours here. I'm really liking that. It's really pretty. Okay, just finish off that edge there. And again, give it a bit of a wiggle. There we go. And the other side. Perfect. Okay. You can start to see that light blue that's slowly bleeding into the white. It's a really nice effect. Okay. So the next one is going to be the light blue again. So very much rinse and repeat, just pour it over. And I want a slightly thicker line for this one, so I'm just filling in the gaps. Okay. I've also added a little bit of metallic paint to this one, so it's a slightly metallic-y blue. Give it a tip. There we go. And the other side. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to work around our top edge. So using that really dark navy. Okay. Okay, so I've got a little bit of white that I've mixed up. Just add to it. Give it a tip. And watch those beautiful blues blend together. I love watching paint move. Okay. And again, even though it's still pretty damp, you can see it has that high shine to it, which is what the PVA glue will be doing. Okay. Give it a mix. And we'll use this as our outer edge. That really dark blue. Okay. Just to fill in the edge there. Now you don't have to drag your paint all the way to the edge of your canvas. I just happen to prefer it. Okay. And again, I'm just gently teasing the paint into all the little nooks and crannies with my palette knife. Okay. Give it a bit more of water mix and then add that to the other corner. Okay. There we go, just pour it on. Marvellous. Okay. So I think we are pretty much almost done. Okay, just pop that down there. Add a little bit water. And just finish off that corner there. There we go. Tip it up, give it a wiggle round. There we go. Okay. I really like that. I'm so super happy with how it turned out. That is our finished piece. So I'm just going to let it dry for the 3 days and then I will hang it up. So an extra stage to this piece that I didn't show in the video is the center part. Now I decided that I wanted to cut out the hole in the middle, and that was purely because I wanted it to look more natural. I didn't want the canvas showing through behind it. I think it makes it a bit more visually interesting. And yeah, I really loved how it turned out. I'm so super happy with it. Let me know what you guys think and whether you'd like to see more videos like this. I will gladly do more. As I said, I think I'm going to do a purple piece in this style, and I might do more pouring acrylic videos in general. It was very messy but a lot of fun. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.